Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Grab your favorite bevy, pull up a chair, and enjoy the ride. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Today is a rainy day here at the old ranch, but we got it set up to have some fun outside. I'm sure you can hear the pitter-patter on the microphones and stuff, but hey, that adds to the ambiance.
Yeah, that's it.
Whatever. I got my buddy here, Adam.
What's up?
We never like toured together as like a professional. How would you say? Like you weren't like an audio guy. I wasn't
Working
like
unit.
we had nothing. Our paths never really actually truly had to cross during the day, other than like a few things here and there. But today, folks, this is a really cool guest, and I'm super happy to have Adam on because he deals with some of the really deep stuff in the music industry that I don't think gets talked about enough. And so we're gonna dive into some really cool stuff. But Adam and me met on tour. I would say 6 years ago. Maybe even longer.
Yeah, probably. Let's see. I mean, it's probably the first FGL tour.
Yeah.
Probably, which is
and what's crazy
a while
is
ago, 2000, I don't know, 13, 14, something like
easily 13, 14. And what's crazy is I'd seen you probably for a good year and a half before we actually, like, hey, dude.
Kicked it. Said what's up. That's touring, though, right? It's so silly. People hang out all day. You see each other working, and then you finally hang out, and then you're like, oh, we could have been friends, 3 months ago.
We could have been doing this whole thing, sipping beers out back and on the good stuff long time ago. But what in the world? Yeah. But you came in and you were doing something that I'd never seen ever before on a tour, which I don't think I really understood it, maybe up until my last few years with the band, and you were on a riding tour bus, like not riding, but writing.
Writing, yeah, exactly, yeah,
and
writing.
That's pretty dang cool because that's your part to this industry, right? Like you had a big part in the publishing world.
Yeah, and still working in it currently.
And what is, before we go too deep, but we're in Nashville where there's a lot of writing. I even wore my Johnny Cash socks today.
There you go.
Just in,
they look good with those bands.
I'm sure he wrote a couple songs, right?
A couple, yeah, a few.
But the publishing is a big deal here in Nashville, I would assume, like in, the music industry in general.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of people don't even know that it exists, really. Fans and, people that just listen to music for pleasure don't really understand the back end of it too much, which is a lot of the songwriting and co-writes that happen.
Man, and that just is like wild to me that it's kind of overlooked. Like people just assume a song gets like all of a sudden just hits radio. Like the artist, it hits their brain and boom.
Yeah,
song.
I think a lot of people think the artist is sitting there in their bedroom writing the song every single time, really. And then you tell them, no, there's actually like 300 plus, I'd say 350 maybe, and it's growing still, but songwriters in Nashville that write songs for a living, signed by publishing companies that co-write pretty much 3-4 days a week.
And that's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk to some of my, now that I have songwriting friends, I'm like, wow, you did 3 writes yesterday?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I got on my computer, I did it. And well, now they Zoom write, which is even wilder.
Yeah. I think on that bus that we're talking about, I think the most songs that the boys ever wrote were 12 songs in 3 days out there on tour.
Yeah.
12 songs.
And that's, I mean, we're going to get a little more in depth on it, but that's wild. I mean, in one weekend, you write 12 songs.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think more people have this idea that it's a Taylor Swift sitting on the edge of her bed.
Exactly. Yeah,
no offense to Taylor. Good on her. She's written some songs.
And a lot of people do that.
Where did you, because again, this isn't something that's like talked about a lot. So how'd you even know that you could get into publishing?
Man, I've always been a fan of writing songs. I mean, I wrote songs back in the day. I mean, there's probably a couple of girlfriends that have old CDs that have a couple of songs I wrote to them, Oh, man. But I really understood it more when I have a buddy, Kanan Smith, who I went to high school with. He's an artist in town. and he was writing songs all the time, and I saw publishing happen through that. Basically, saw him get signed, saw him and Tyler Hubbard write a song for Jason Aldean, and and started understanding more that, oh man, this is a business here. You know what I mean? And this is something that that you can have success with in town when you're lining up with the right people. Yeah. And
seeing this at a young age, I mean, that's pretty. You said high school?
Well, no.
Oh, you knew Kanan.
I knew Kanan in high school, but it took me moving to Nashville.
Okay.
And being around them more and to really understand it.
You're like, oh wow.
Yeah, to understand and grasp it. That's not when I jumped into publishing. I had some other touring gigs before.
Yeah.
Went out and did the writing bus.
What did you do before you got it? Just a little quick side note. You were a guitar tech, right? If I remember correctly?
It kind of overall ran into, I guess I would just call it assistant TM, because I did so many things at the time. From setting the stage up to guitar technation, running meet and greets, So
like everyone in Nashville, just wearing all the hats.
Yeah, just trying to wear all the hats and learn everything and be a sponge. I actually... my first job was with Love and Theft.
Yeah.
And they were they had 11 guys on a bus. So they had one bunk open.
One open spot.
And I called them, and I was looking for a new way to get out of the golf business at the time. And I've been friends with these guys for a while, and they said, come out. We can't pay you anything, but come out and learn
the ropes.
Learn the ropes. And I went out for about 3-4 months without pay and traveled with them and worked close with their tour manager and front of house guy and learned everything. And then they ended up hiring me full time.
Oh, wow.
And then that's when I started still wearing all the hats. But it helped me get to where I am today, to be able to understand the business side of it, the performance side, and the song choice.
Which I think to you is a giant benefit, because you deal with. I mean, now you deal with artists at a completely different level. But starting out, you see yourself. You're like, wow, I want to get out of the golf business. Okay, there's some friends of mine. Bam.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm here. And you'd already known Kanan. I'm assuming he had already moved here?
Yeah, Kanan was here.
Where'd you guys grow up?
We grew up in Virginia, Williamsburg. Yeah. And he had a band in high school and stuff. We hung out a little bit. Band? We really connected more after high school. It was a punk rock band.
Yeah. I've always thought of him. He had a little punk rock to him. Yeah. Ever since I've seen him.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does. But yeah, he was a big inspiration there to get me to town. And when I moved to town is when I met T-Hub, Tyler Hubbard from Florida Georgia Line.
Yeah.
And we both needed roommates at the time, so we moved in together.
And this is this is back when this
is before even Love and Theft. Yeah, and then moved in with T-Hub, and that's when, before him and BK ever met, our roommate at the time, me and Tyler's roommate, Jason O'Toole, actually is the one that introduced BK and Tyler to each other and said, y'all should be writing songs together.
That's amazing.
And then BK started coming over to the house to write songs.
That's so cool.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's such an insane. I mean, that's probably like what, 2010, 2011. I would only assume.
Yep, 2010, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, in that whole time.
And they are proof of good songwriting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that is right there. What, like, if you are young and listening to this and you pick up a guitar and you're like, I'm gonna write a song one day. That's some inspiration right there, because they can write some songs.
Yeah, man.
And they don't just write their songs. I mean,
they write songs for other people too, which is,
part of that publishing game.
Part of the publishing game. It's amazing to be able to have that.
So then, so you get here, you move in with Tyler Hubbard. Amazing.
Yeah, that's my dog.
T-Hub. Yeah, dude, that's awesome. And then you're like, all right, cool, I'm out of the golf game. I'm gonna go. Hey, one thing we haven't done yet. I need a little pick me up here. What is this? What did you bring?
Dude, let me show you this. This is
Told me it's one of your favorite morning
Bevvies. It's called Gold Thread. Not to throw out any commercials here, but Gold Thread, you're the jump off, man. This is a plant-based drink. This is called Hawaiian Ginger.
Hawaiian Ginger. This one's for me?
Digestive system, yeah. That's
all
a good
right.
one. And then
I've been pretty good this week, but this probably will still help me out.
I rock this one. That's a turmeric one.
Oh.
Helps with a little inflammation.
All right.
A little digestive. So, like, get the morning rocking, you know?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, because, hey, isn't that what, like, songwriting's about? It's all about the vibe, right?
All about the vibe.
So, I mean, we might as well get this vibe going, too. So
let's get this
all right.
vibe going.
Good Gold Thread plant-based tonics.
I think they sell these at Turnip Truck down the road.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know what? There's a lot of really cool things here in Nashville. I always sell it short before I moved here. Cheers, man. No.
I went in. It's got a taste to it, though. Bam.
Bam.
Bam, and got him.
Bam.
Look at that.
That's like
him.
Yeah.
Said, what?
What? Emerald. It emerald me. Bam.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay, and I'm all about the drinks in the morning to make me feel better. Yeah. I had a guest not too long ago bring me some tea. Oh. I can't reveal what tea because I still haven't aired it yet. But
gotcha.
But hey, I'm all about morning drinks. There's something about a good bevy in the morning, non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic. 9:30 in the morning sometimes.
I mean sometimes.
But hey, there's other things to do at 9:30 in the morning.
100. Get the real vibe going.
Yeah.
So you move in with dude. This is actually pretty good. Sorry. One more time.
It is good, man, and it's good for you. That's the.
And on tour, there's so many times where we need something that's good for us after a long night of sitting in a vibe room.
Exactly. In the mornings. Next day.
Delicious.
Yeah.
All right.
Feels
so
right.
you move in with T-Hub. You're from Virginia.
From Virginia.
You already have a friend here. You're like, Kanan's here. I'm moving to Nashville.
Yep. I had another friend here too, but he moved, of course, right when I got to town.
Of course.
They were like the main reasons.
I
won't say his name.
I'm
just getting in suspense.
Yeah, you heard that.
I can't believe you moved, bro. Right when I got to town. I understand.
That's awesome. And so
work calls.
But then you get here and you're like, I'm gonna go work at a golf course.
Yeah, I worked at Golf Club of Tennessee.
Nice. Is that even around anymore?
A caddy. Yeah, it is. It's
Premier.
Probably one of the nicest clubs in Nashville.
Where's it at?
Out in Kingston Springs.
Oh, okay. That place is beautiful.
It's like 30 minutes west or so, but it's beautiful. Yeah, I started caddying there.
All right.
And then
is that where you got those golf skills?
Man, yeah.
Or did you always have it?
Man, it's just something that I practiced back in the day a lot, you know, just working on sitting in a pro shop for hours working, and you pick up a golf club and start juggling a golf ball around and working on hand-eye coordination, and just helps with everything.
You got a good golf game too, right? It's not just about the tricks.
Yeah, it's not just about the tricks. I got a good golf game. No,
you can hold your own.
Yeah, I try to at least. No, I played in high school and then went to a college to get a golf business degree, and then that's when I came here. I was in Myrtle Beach for that, and then came here and got a golf job.
Wow.
And then realized I didn't want a golf job anymore.
You're like, that looks a little cooler.
I'm like, music is dope.
Yeah.
I got a lot of good friends in it. I love it. It's a passion of mine.
My father-in-law, he worked for FootJoy for
nice.
I don't know, long time. But
that's awesome.
He's been in the golf game forever. He has like some of the coolest, like, is it St. Andrews?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
He's been there. I think he has a flag from there.
Oh, nice.
Like he went to like one of the big tournaments over there.
The British Open or something.
Yeah, I think
St. Andrews like where golf started, basically.
Yeah, with
old Tom Morrison
has that little bridge that you always see. It's always windy there. Yeah, it's always real windy.
Yeah, it is super windy.
I would hate it.
Oh man, it seems cold. Colder than this.
Yeah,
sure.
It's a little chilly out here. I just got like a little chill, but that Hawaiian ginger is picking me up. So
yeah, I got my coffee over here too.
So you're in the golf game. You got the moves, and I think in anything, everybody always wants to move up. Were you seeing yourself just like, this isn't going to do for me what I want in life, so I see these guys, they're doing something pretty cool, and riding is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, golf got me to a point, and then it was time to move on.
Yeah.
I felt, and I still love playing the game, but not working in the business.
Were you riding?
While
you were there? Seeing that you're like hanging out with or you're living in Nashville with
I mean, probably not as much as I should have been, but I was around, you know what I mean? And I always enjoyed watching those guys do what they loved doing because they were really good at what they were doing.
Yeah.
I wasn't as good at what they were doing. I still loved it and still liked writing songs here and there, you know. But I enjoyed watching them. I enjoyed watching what needed to happen around them to make them successful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of like where I got my passion from is watching T-Hub play writers rounds and really listen and watch how people react. And, you know.
What's a writer's round?
A writer's round is really only happens in Nashville. I guess there's some other place that needs to be bigger, but it's when you have about 4 or 5 songwriters, 3 to 5 songwriters on stage. And they take turns playing songs.
Is that kind of what like the Bluebird does?
Bluebird, yeah.
Okay.
Listening Room Cafe.
All right. I've never been to one. I've definitely heard about them and stuff.
It's really they're really cool, man. It's just a way for people, I guess, to understand songwriting, not see an actual like performance, but dive into like, just more the writing side and connecting with the person who actually wrote the song too. You know what I mean? Yeah,
for sure. And there's an audience, I'm assuming. Right?
Yeah,
that sits there
Listening Room sold out, I think, pretty much like all the time.
That's wild.
Yeah, they just have, and a lot. I would say like 80% is out of towners coming in.
Yeah, I mean you're potentially seeing the next biggest hit,
or hearing one that you had no idea that person wrote.
I would assume a lot of like A&R people sneak into those places and like kind of just chill in the back, or people in the business that are like trying to see the new next.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're in the business, you're kind of jumping around show to show, anyways, trying to see what's out next and who's coming up.
So you're going to these ride arounds after work. You're like, all right. Golf was cool today. Hit some good stuff. Caddied it up for some people.
Yeah.
When I was setting up this morning, not to change the subject, but it reminded me of that scene in Caddyshack where he's like, the priest is out there playing golf, and he's like, the heavy stuff hasn't started to come down.
Yeah.
I was setting up. I was like, the heavy stuff hasn't started. Yeah, we're good. We're just going to keep going.
And the gale force wind comes through, and you're still out there playing.
He's getting shocked by lightning at the end. You're like, wow.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
But
great.
You're going to these ride arounds. You're watching your roommate just probably kill it.
Crush it. Yeah.
You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
What is this guy doing?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be on stage, bro. And he's like, I'm working on it.
We're working on it, yeah. Exactly.
You're like, I need to be a part of this more.
Yeah, that was, I just loved it. I love being around songs and around music, and it then grew because I actually saw Kanan really was the first one that's like played shows. Watching play shows and stuff, and then went from that to seeing Tyler and BK start getting together, but they weren't playing shows yet. They were really like leading worship at a church or playing a writer's round together and kind of like playing off each other's songs a little bit, but they weren't doing like the duo thing yet.
I gotcha.
And then they ended up, became a band. And then it was kind of like, after they did enough of that, you kind of start moving away from the writers' rounds a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, you start moving away from that and start playing shows now.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I'm assuming that you guys, seeing that you were doing these ride arounds, kind of came up with the idea of the Tree Vibes bus. I would only assume that instead of, an audience, now you're just bringing a bunch of guys out and you're like, all right, let's write.
Yeah, man. It was really special. It was a special thing to be out there and watch these guys. And I was basically in charge of handpicking songwriters in town and bringing them out and putting artists and writers in their different groups for the day.
Yeah. And so to me, looking at it from an outsider's perspective, the first time I saw the bus, I was like, okay, I have no idea what is happening here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a limb and say it's not the first time that an artist has ever wrote a song on the road, but I would go and say that it might be the first time that a whole bus was just dedicated
writing songs the whole time. Yeah.
Let's just write songs.
Yeah, that was the special thing about it, is that those guys were hungry. I mean, they still are, of course, but they were every time they came out there, they were ready to write songs. It wasn't about the party. It wasn't about this. It was like, let's make some bread.
100%.
Yeah.
And that was always interesting to me too, because it was like, man, these guys are just chilling.
Yeah.
Like, what do they do during the day? And I mean, at the first, side of it, you're just like, all right, these guys are in catering, eating some bacon. Yeah. And I see this guy holding a red Solo cup of orange juice. Yeah. Maybe a little splash of vodka.
Splash of something in there, probably. Yeah.
And then they just disappear. And then they're gone for this whole day. And then all of a sudden, showtime comes around, and I got 14 dudes standing behind me at front of house. And I'm like, all right, what is who are these people? Let me do
my job now. Really?
But yeah, you guys are actually, you know what? I have to say, you and all the riders are always, I mean, some of the nicest people that were out at front of house.
That's what's up.
I mean, and I think that comes from the top. It's like people see how you acted out there. You always like shook our hands. You always like gave us the what's up and all that stuff. And I can't think of one instance where I was like, man, these guys are punters.
Yeah,
right. The term punter is like that person that just stands around, has nothing to do.
Yeah.
But then you get a bunch of record executives out there, and you're like, man, can you not set your drink on my console?
Exactly, right. Everything. So you're like, can you back up behind the line?
I feel like you should know these rules better than anyone else, but how am I telling?
Why am I going to tell you?
I'm gonna take your drink and pour it out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the nice thing I wanted to do.
No, right. Exactly. Yeah.
I just was always so impressed because I saw songwriting as, I would assume, the majority of anyone else sees songwriting for years up until I started to hang out with you.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to say, wow, dude, thank you for opening my eyes to a whole world that, yeah, these guys are working.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah.
And they're putting in some work. And it turned around because I'm pretty sure that I've heard at least 30 hits on the radio.
Yeah.
At the least.
It did. It worked for sure. They came out there and wrote every day, and worked hard. And being out there, it creates a different type of atmosphere than writing in Nashville. You get to see a show. You're getting to see how people react to songs. You're going to kind of vibe with the artist in their world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not so much the artist having to walk into a studio and write that day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And who knows what he went through that morning and has to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the road, you kind of wake up a little bit more happier. You have a breakfast.
You don't have to drive to work.
Yeah.
Someone else is driving.
You go jump on the bus and write a jam, and then that song's finished by the time you get off stage. The vocals on it. It's all mixed.
That's wild.
All the players, have played on it basically because the guy tracking has sent it off to get keys on, or somebody there's talented enough to play the keys and guitar parts. You know what I mean? And then come back on, you enjoy listening to some jams you wrote after the show.
Is there one moment that you can look back at being not like reverse a little bit, but in the room with T-Hub as his roommate and hearing a song that maybe he's never published, maybe he's never put out, but you heard something and you're like, this dude is absolutely legit.
Man, I think...
You don't even have to say the song, but can you think of...
There were so many. I got a few that at that time, nowadays we probably look back and kind of laugh at them a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's still a handful of them that you're like, dude, you could cut that now and put that out. You know what I mean? But back then, they were writing jams for that time, for sure.
I have one for you, and I'm sure it'll probably hit you probably the same way, but Dirt.
Yeah.
I think we were in Canada. And it was still when we were like, I would say maybe 3 buses. I mean, it wasn't a giant tour at the time.
Yeah.
And he brought a lot of the crew onto his bus and played Dirt for the first time. And I just remember it being like, wow.
That's a song right here.
Wow. And every night that I would watch it live, I'd be like, wow.
Yeah.
That I don't know. That was to me one of those moments in life where you're looking at someone and you're like, the way that you lyrically put that stuff is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the whole song just has a different kind of meaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just has a great feel to it for sure.
And there's something about country in general. I think a lot of guys are. Maybe it's my opinion, but it seems like there's a good number of guys that are going back to storytelling. It's not just the same lyric.
Throwing a party.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Trying
to find another way to throw a party.
Which is fine. I mean,
or fall in love.
They'll always be that. And they'll always be the dog and the truck and all that stuff. But
that's why songwriting's so hard, though, because you basically, in country music, you got You fall in love, you're throwing a party, what's some, you're doing some farm shit. What else what else you doing? You know what I mean? Like, what's another way to say that today, And so, I think they're coming back more to, you see a lot of these guys are doing great jobs storytelling with great hooks
and maybe that is
really meaningful.
Partly because you guys had this great idea to let's put them on a bus and ship them around the country like Willie and Waylon and all the boys used to do. It's like they were writing songs because they were living those songs. Yeah, they weren't just like driving to work and seeing it through the eyes of someone else.
Yeah, I think when you get 6 guys on a bus all together and they start sharing their stories with each other, that's the special moment where it really comes out, and you kind of you feed off each other. Someone's gone through the same thing you went through, you know what I mean? And you find ways to talk about it, and it really brings that kind of like, that
emotion.
Yeah, that emotion, that group together.
That
vibe.
What
I mean? Yeah, that vibe that allows them to come out with some magic.
It is magic. So, all right, you're on a bus. You're on the Tree Vibes bus, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's what it was.
Yep. Yeah.
And you look over and this dude just starts playing a lyric, and you're like, whoa. Or he's playing a line on a guitar, and you're like, I got a lyric. Mm-hmm. And you lay it down, right? You're done. Everything's done. It's said. What's the next step? Because you said, like, you could potentially walk off stage that night and that song's done.
Yeah, if that song's done, usually if there was an artist that wrote on it that day, whether it be the headliner or the opener or whoever that came on to write that day, if they don't want to hold on to it, then the song then goes to every publishing company that's involved with that song.
Okay.
And then you have people there that are pitching that song directly to other A&R and to other artists to cut.
And that's how the publishing, I guess, world works. How many publishing houses are in Nashville?
Man, I don't know. There's so many, though. I couldn't really even take a stab at it, to be honest.
So it's not something that's like, because I guess we could get a little further down the road, but eventually it has to hit like the BMIs and the ASCAPs of the world, right, to get these guys paid, right? Is that part of the deal?
Yeah, I mean, PROs are involved for sure with everything usually.
You have the songwriter. Let's just say I wrote the song. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I want to hold on to this. And you're like, this is going to be a hit. I'm going to send it to these publishing houses, or I'm going to send it out. And then an artist grabs it and they're like, ooh. Or do they go and like market it to these people?
No, I mean, it's basically if you wrote the song and I was your publisher, you would turn the song into me. And then I'm using my contacts. And you can use yours too. I mean, if you have an artist that you're good friends with that you think would sound awesome on this, by all means, man, send that thing off. Like, that's your work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you're on a 1099 publishing. Like, this is not just up to me. This is up to you to create your own future as well. So if you have that relationship, I suggest you use it. You know what I mean? And know how many times you should use it, and be careful of what you're sending. You know what I mean? And that's part of this business. Is like,
so that's why
I'd rather send somebody 2 songs that I think personally are hits than send them 40 songs and let them shake off ones. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. I'd rather just be like, here's what I got for you, dude. Bang, bang.
Put these in your ear.
And if you're going to think they're good songs, I promise. It might not be perfect what you're looking for right now, but you're going to think they're good songs, you know?
But then you can always tweak them because you're basically just sending a rough draft, right?
I'm sending a good demo.
A good demo,
usually,
okay.
Yeah.
And so then it hits an artist, and they're like, you know what? I like this song.
Yeah.
What's the next step after that? What do they do then?
They usually play it for their management, their producer, get the thumbs up from everybody, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. And then they usually take it into the studio then and cut it, and then probably live with it for a little bit after that, unless they know for sure it's going to go on the album. Some people cut, more songs than what they're going to go, what's going to go on the album, and then go back and say, all right, this is what we want to do.
Is it easier when they're like in a higher echelon artist, or does it really matter? Is it kind of just the same ball game?
No, it's definitely,
or does it make it harder when they're way more tall because they got to go, or when they're a bigger artist because they got to go through more people?
There's that too. But you know, if you're signed, no matter what, like you're going through people.
You're going through people. Yeah.
I mean? So that's just what it is. You know, what was the first thing you said? I forgot.
So like when you cut it, right? So it goes to the artist, and then what do they do with it next? So they have to hit their managers, you said.
Yeah,
and
that's
all
what
that.
we're saying. That's right. Hit their managers, hit their producer, put
and
their
even
vocal
then,
on it, and then wait around, and you can get a notice that something got cut, and then it doesn't make the album. You know what I mean? So that's just how you've been told things are gonna be the next single, and then it's not the next single. That's just this business, really. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like when it comes out, then let's party.
then let's
you know
party.
What I mean? Like
when I see that title on the CD cover.
Yeah, until it comes out, it's you know, fingers crossed kind of thing.
And when you came here, I mean, you were still, I mean, that's almost 10 years ago, right? So the business was still had CDs. There was still. Nashville seems to me like it's always been one of those places too, where everyone's approachable. So
for sure,
you have a chance to be like, hey dude, I think you'd like this song at the Bluebird when they're up there or when they're in the audience, and they might go, I might listen to it.
Yeah.
And your chances actually are probably pretty high that they might listen to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like as opposed to like being in LA and you're like, hey Britney Spears, you might dig this song. It might be your next pop hit.
Right.
She'd be like, yeah, no.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's I mean, it helps playing songs out, like you mentioned in the Bluebird. Like you see a lot of writers go out there and play songs that they love, and you know, I know for a fact that's how Up Down got cut. You know,
really, that's amazing.
Hardy was playing it down at Key West Festival, and I remember when Seth, I heard the song and I saw people working all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like when you hear the song and then you see people jump on their phone for a second and you know that something's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, all right, they're trying to hold that or whatever. And that's just things that you pick out. Some people don't, but I'm sitting there listening to the song too, going, and I say, oh man, nobody's cut this. This sounds like a hit to me.
That was a hit.
And it ended up being a hit and they did the right things with it, man. Big old song.
Big old song.
Yeah.
I watched a Garth Brooks documentary. Have you seen that one on Netflix? I think it was.
I haven't. It was awesome.
It was interesting, but it talks about him playing at the Bluebird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't remember what song it was, but it was one of those big ones. Not the rodeo.
Thunder Rolls.
One of those giant ones. I mean, I think he has like 4 giant hits.
Yeah.
4 albums of giant hits.
Yeah. Jeez. It's crazy.
But it was something like that. It was one of those The Dance. I think that's what it was. And and someone was playing it, and you know, it just got to the right person, to the right person, to the right person, and next thing you know, this dude's has his song being played by Garth Brooks. I mean, it's cool how it works, man. When people are champions of songs, like you never know what can happen, you know. And that's just the beautiful thing about this business is songs get cut from 5 years ago that match up with somebody right now, and the message does, and the performance does, and they go, let's cut this thing. I was standing at a show the other night, and it was just a private event. And this dude walks in with like an alligator suit on, like blue, purple hair. And I'm like, who is this guy? This guy has to be someone special. Because you just don't walk into a party like that. And, you know.
Blue and purple hair?
It was gray, blue, purple. I mean, it was like every.
He was just rocking it.
And he was an older guy. It wasn't like he was some, 20-year-old just trying to be loud. This guy was just loud. And he had like one of those like giant like turquoise medallions around his neck.
Okay.
Might as well.
It wasn't Halloween.
It was not Halloween yet. So I was like, all right, okay, this guy is in a room full of people wearing polos, and he's walking in like this. Who is he? Come to find out, he was the writer for Eye of the Tiger.
No way. That's crazy.
I've been around some people who have had a hit or two.
Like.
That dude's making mailbox his
mailbox money.
His mail guy can't even figure out how to stuff more envelopes into his mailbox.
Yeah, that's got to be, especially back in the day, man. Couldn't imagine.
If I was him
on that thing.
Oh, I mean, think about every wedding. Think about every. I mean, it still gets played right now. It's probably being played in 30 bars right now as we speak in Nashville.
Yeah, for sure, probably right before all football games too.
It's every high school that doesn't know who even wrote this or performed the song?
Oh, dude, funny story about that. It's something just like that. I was at the Preds game the other night, and sitting there, and Danger Zone comes on.
Oh my god!
They're playing the jam, you know what I mean? And these college kids behind me go, "Oh, that's the song from Spy something." It made me feel so old, dude. I'm like, hold on. That's what you relate it to, is this Spy Kids movie or something, right? Danger Zone. I'm sitting here thinking about Top Gun, you know what I mean?
Top Gun, bro.
Yeah. And it's just funny, and you're like, oh gosh, I'm getting to that age where things switch up.
Isn't that crazy though? You're like
no.
Some of the songs though that are out there, you know, and here you go. I would have only assumed that Eye of the Tiger back then was written by the band, because that's how it was. You know, a lot of bands wrote their own songs and performed their own songs.
Right.
No, this dude, I don't even know. They were saying he's wrote thousands of hits.
That's amazing. I mean,
and he's just chilling in Nashville wearing alligator suits. I was so impressed, dude.
That's awesome.
There's just something about someone like that you're just like, songwriting, again, is just something that's so deep.
Yeah.
And you're willing to give it away. It's like a baby.
Yeah, man. It's definitely, it's a cool thing like that, because those guys are and girls.
Oh my gosh.
They're so good at being able to create that day and then let it go. It's like being a painter, you know what I mean? Like, a painter knocks out a painting, might spend some time on it, but then it's done. You know, you still have to be inspired to go back to that painting, or like to keep on working on that thing, you know what I mean? And the same thing goes with songwriting, you know, but to be able to create, let that go, and go, all right, there it is. That's the song. And then be able to create something new the next day. Yeah. And to keep on moving on, you know what I mean? It's just unbelievable how many songs they have really in catalogs of it.
Do you have to, I mean, because you're dealing with some newer artists now, like you've moved on to a new spot in publishing, and you're up there in the management side of it, right? Or you're helping like kind of develop and
senior creative director, and do some A&R stuff is basically putting rooms together.
So
and
now that you're at like a place like that, because again, you had the Tree Vibes bus, which was awesome, and I feel like it was a bunch of guys coming up, and you all were working together, learning, growing.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you're kind of like able to mentor too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. Like,
I would only.
If anybody wants advice, yeah.
I mean, I would only believe that's where you kind of have to be in a situation, where you're taking young songwriters and you're like, hey, look, this is how we have to do this. This is how we have to develop you. You got to put in the time.
For sure.
You got to be willing to let go of it.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys coming out there already knew that. You know what I mean? They were willing to sacrifice and get on the road and write songs and stay out on the road. Sometimes when everybody went home, we'd be out west and everybody would fly home. You would be home, everybody would be home, but the songwriters.
I actually remember a couple times. I remember a couple times where we stayed out west, and all of a sudden y'all showed up at the same truck stop. We're like okay, I see what you guys are doing.
Yeah. Roadies, man, we're out there, dude. We're out there
in your sweats, hopping off the bus at like 3 a.m. to grab a snack.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
Now, when you were designing that bus, the first go around, because it wasn't the same bus every time, was it? Or did you hold the same one?
We had
for
two
that
different
one?
buses when I was out there. Yeah,
they were both white, though. I remember.
Yeah, both white buses. Yeah.
Did you like the first inception? You're like, all right, we need certain things on there, or was it kind of just organic? Like, hey, we're gonna leave this open. We have the speakers. We got the computer. Here's a new songwriter coming in. He's like, hey, what should I bring? You're like, bring guitar and some songs. Yeah, man. Really, I would have it set up. It was 2 rooms, front and back lounge, studio room, and then it would have everything you needed to basically plug in and play. And I would let the guys know, like, hey, if you want to bring an electric or whatever, you can go ahead and do that. But everything else is pretty much there for you. Let's have some fun. Yeah, be able to jump on and get in your room. So I asked you if there was one song that stood out when you were a roommate with T-Hub, but is there one song that stands out when you rode that bus? Man, that hasn't been cut, or that has? let's do that has been cut. Because I mean, I'm gonna say that I've stood next to you at some #1 parties before in life, and and what's wild to me is that we've interacted a lot outside of touring. Because my wife's in the business, and I get to go to these like management parties that most roadies didn't go to, unless you were mixing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can think of one song specifically, and I'll name it after you go. But I can think of one song that even still to this day, when I hear it, I'm just like, that is a powerful song.
Yeah. My favorite song would probably be the first #1 that came off that bus, and that was "You Make It Easy" with Jason Aldean. And let's see, that was that was a great day, because it's so cool to be able to hear that song from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I think it was Morgan Wallen's first #1 as a songwriter too. So it was just like special all the way around to have a little bit of hand in that, to be like, hey, why don't you get back here with him, and y'all should write today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that kind of gets made, and you're like, it's not for Morgan, it's not for Florida Georgia Line. I think T-Hub texted to Aldean.
Oh, wow.
And he put his vocal on it like that, and then you have a song that goes #1. And that was, that was super special. That's kind of
cool.
like, we got the ball rolling with that one, you know what I mean? And after I left Tree Vibes, I think the bus ended up having 4 U.S. #1s and 3 Canadian #1s. And over like 50 some cuts.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah, man, it was really cool just to see those songs come to life and watch your friends be creative. You know what I mean? And knowing that I had a little bit of creativity in how to vibe it out and where to put the right songwriters. In my
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like creativity. We've talked about it on the show before. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the person physically doing it, but helping that person get their medium. You brought up artist, there's so many ways that people around them can help these people be more creative. Because when you see someone that's creative, you're like, I need to help. I need to let them harness, or I need to take the weight off of them so they can just like.
And that's part of the A&R stuff that I love about the job, is being able to find that artist, find someone you believe in, get them linked up with the right songwriters, get them linked up with the right producer that understands the sound.
Yeah.
And
well, that's another big part too, is finding that person that'll take the sound to the next level, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So that's part of that. Cool, we cut it. We've got it with the right artist. Their management approved it. Now we got to get them in the studio.
Yeah, and usually sometimes you have a producer. Usually you have a producer that's already involved with that whole mix.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's plenty of times where you gotta go out and find the right producer, and sometimes you give things shots, and then it doesn't work out the way that you thought, and then you go recut it with somebody else.
Yeah.
And until you land it right, everything can be kind of
Till you're on that album.
Yeah. Till it's on the album, or until until it's out there in the world and doing well, you can really do, you can do whatever, switch things up if you need to.
As a person who's been creative, I'm going to say probably your whole life, looking at someone like a Florida Georgia Line and like T-Hub and Brian, they have this giant hit, right? Cruise. Boom. Yeah. And then they're like, how can we make it better? Well, why don't we add this dude named Nelly?
Yeah. What?
I mean, like that in itself right there. And I don't know if a lot of people can even put themselves back this far, but I mean, he had a #1 hit with Tim McGraw.
Yeah.
Nelly, back in the day.
Nelly knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, he's a smart man.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, he's made a good career off of hip hop and country music.
And that's a good collaboration too.
Yeah, it's very cool. And he was one that pioneered it,
I kind of bring that up a lot when people are like, oh, but that's that new style stuff. And it's like, hold on. I think that song came out in the 90s, or if not 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So there's nothing new about
no
these crossover artists.
Not at all. Nothing new about it.
It just was... I feel like people just want to hate on certain things.
Done again in someone else's generation, and then they think it's the first time that this happened.
Like, oh, that's crazy, Nelly and FGL. You're like, wait, hold on. No, I mean, yeah, that's giant, and that song,
it was huge.
Wow, that was another wow
ever for sure.
I can remember because I was mixing Nelly out on the stadium runs and stuff, and some of the other stuff, but when we played Fenway Park,
sick. Yeah,
I mean. You remember that day?
Yeah.
Just standing there with all the greats already in Fenway, and then you're like, okay, well, let's go out and, tear this place apart. And it was one of those insane shows where you're watching people in the middle of the day who definitely never owned Nelly's first album.
Right, yeah.
Sing along to these songs. You're like, wow, this dude is... I'm impressed.
Yeah, no, dude, he's one of my favorites ever. Growing up to still today. Yeah, he's just always been a favorite.
He always brought everybody outside stage. I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna go on a limb and say that you guys would take a writer's break when Nelly was on stage.
Oh yeah, for sure, without a doubt. That was the first thing I was doing. I was putting one down and going to watch Nell. You know what I mean? Like that's that was a treat for me. I'm a big fan of hip hop. I'm listening to hip hop when I'm not working. You know what I mean? And I like listening to country music. I listen to the charts. I listen to new things that have come out. But when I'm enjoying time on my own and hanging, it's all hip hop.
Yeah.
Usually.
Well, and that's part of that winding down. I think people have their certain
you gotta break away from it a little bit.
Yeah, you can't always listen to country music, especially if you're in it as a business. You have to listen to everything else around it. Then you have to listen to it. But then when you go home,
no,
I'm gonna listen to.
It's not on today's top country or anything like that.
I don't listen to music.
No, dude. Sometimes being silence is the best. So, when you can get in a car and it's a little warm and there's nothing playing.
I can do silence probably better than some of the other people in this world or in the audio business. Yeah. To me, when I would be off tour, music was the last thing I wanted to deal with.
Yeah, I understand.
Even walking into like restaurants and they're playing a song.
Yeah.
Because I toured with definitely some A-market people, and so their songs are on the radio, or they're on the freaking playlist, or they're on and then now that Spotify and these other, like iHearts and all these places can just stream them. You walk into a business, or you like walk into Sam's Club, and you hear Nelly on the radio. You're like, I like the song, but I just got done touring with him for 4 months. I don't want to hear the song again.
Yeah. I love Nelly, but I'm good on Hot in Here right now.
Hey, I love it, but I need a break.
Yeah.
But that goes for all the artists I've worked for. I mean, I worked for Justin Bieber back in 2010.
Sick.
And I'd heard Baby so many times that by the time I was done touring, it somehow was in every playlist and every restaurant. I mean,
oh man,
for years I couldn't get away from the song.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Couldn't get away from
that was one of those ones that just like, that was a big one.
Yeah, no, I can understand. It's catchy as hell though.
But there it is. That is the thing. These songwriters and this publishing game and all this stuff is so amazing to me because you guys are the ones that are writing the mathematic equation that people are going, I love that song. Why do I love that song?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because these songwriters and these publishing houses and these, people, you're the one that's sitting in these rooms with these artists going, let's do the tempo like a little bit. We need to up that just a touch.
I mean, sometimes.
Sometimes. Well, you know what I mean.
I'm more listen to it down, and I do give critiques back.
Well, I was going to say, they probably
the songwriters. They want to know if you think it's,
And the more honest you are.
The more honest you are, and sometimes they agree with it, sometimes they don't.
That's about being an artist, though.
Yeah, I sent my opinion the other day, and it was, nope, we're keeping that in there. And I was like, all right, that's cool with me. I don't have a problem with it.
And that's the thing, though.
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. Hey, you asked. I'm firing back. But you are at the forefront of a lot of this business, though, that's happening in Nashville. And I think that's just so cool. And that's why it's such a treat to have you on, because so many people are, I think, not in the dark with the music. It's just one of those things where you just don't get a lot of info. You get whatever the news gives you, or you're like, oh, that artist is, dating so-and-so. But...
Mm-hmm.
The reality is people are streaming music nonstop.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not listening to a podcast, they're probably listening to a song.
Yeah.
And and why though? Well, because it's catchy.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you, and these catalogs that you have, we were talking about it in my kitchen before we came out here. It's insane to me that, you know, people are writing, like we said, three times a day some days.
Sometimes,
5 days a week, 7 days a week.
Just depends how hungry you are.
And they're just cataloging these things over and over.
Thousands of songs in catalogs.
And you're just hoping. And then this one song makes it.
Yeah, and getting outside cuts is like one of the toughest things now, because like, you know, you got a lot of artists that want to be in the room and write their own stuff. You know, you have a handful that still take outside cuts all the time. You know,
and that's because I'm assuming it's getting harder now that people can stream stuff. It's not like buying a CD, right? So getting paid is starting to get...
Well, that's a whole freaking story right now, man. It's crazy with Spotify and everything, how they pay songwriters.
Yeah.
And soon, and
that's another episode.
That's another episode.
But it makes it harder, though, to make money. And so people need touring or they need other outlets. But songwriting is one of those things where it's like, well, cool, if I'm going to get paid, then hopefully I'm one of two on here, or one of three, or...
Yeah, you start looking at how many people are in that room real quick. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, there's 4 people. Do we really need them today? No, it's not like, but you know, you start trying. That 33 1/3 looks nice. You know what I mean? Compared
100%.
to a quarter.
Oh, hey,
You know?
I can only imagine, and it's just such an honest. To me, having you here and speaking of this stuff is very eye opening to me, because I can look at like being creative with this podcast. And there's 2 million other podcasts that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Like, how can I stand out? How can I do one thing differently? And I'm assuming that's what songwriting is too. It's like, how can I word that? There's only so many times you can say I love you.
Yeah, exactly.
So how can I say I love you in the coolest, most dopest way with a 4/4 playing in the back with however, you know, like you guys talk it out in the bus, but that's what it starts boiling down to. It's like, well, cool, that was a cool lyric, but let's go deeper.
Let's go deeper. Let's find out what we want to write today. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how they attack it, really. You know, and it's pretty special, pretty cool thing.
Yeah,
cool craft.
Very cool craft.
Yeah.
So I had said that there's one song that I know I'd seen you.
Yeah. What's that?
God's Country.
Oh, sick song.
Even when I watched Hardy play it live.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, you're like,
gives me chills, man.
Chills.
I'm like, oh, good. Dude, he's crushing. It was just crazy. it was cool. I was at Tree Vibes that day where they wrote that at the publishing house.
Okay.
Devin Dawson, Schmidt, and Hardy. And I could hear from the room I was working in kind of like what they were doing in there. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And they sent it to, I think Blake Shelton had it that day and was listening to it in his tractor while he was on his farm. And if you're listening to God's Country for the first time in a tractor
on a farm
and you're an artist, I mean, how do you say no to it? You know what I mean? You're just like, this is the shit.
Oh, dude.
This is, banger, man.
It is. And we stood there that day at that #1 party at Old Red. Mm-hmm. And the energy, I've been in, I think, maybe 2 other #1 parties of his. But the energy in that one, there was something different. And that song, I don't know, even to this day, I put it on my radio and I'm like, whew.
It's a banger.
Wow,
yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, and you can feel it. It transfers over to a show really well, you know, live performance. And that's kind of one of those.
I mean, like we were saying, I watched Hardy play it every night. And then I've been to a couple Blake shows. Yeah. And both.
You just
crush
like, damn,
it.
this is the song of the whole night. You know what I mean? It just hits you like that. You
watch the audience just shut down.
You're like, you guys did it that day.
You know, one artist that I've always wanted to go see that I feel like, and I could be wrong because I just don't know anyone that really could tell me if he writes his own stuff, but George Strait.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those, another artist that to me, he's like a Garth Brooks or, you know.
Oh, for sure.
They just have songs that, even if they didn't write them, they sing them, and they sing them great.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Just talented guy.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing this publishing stuff with us. But on your end, where do you see country music kind of is it going the direction we said earlier, like back to a songwriter kind of like?
There's no, to be honest, right now it's like no genre, man.
Is there even a genre in the world right now?
I don't think so, dude. I just think great music is great music, you know, and if it has to fit into a radio box somewhere, then there's ways of, you know, trying to make that happen. But you know, really, I think people are just creating right now,
having fun.
Yeah, having fun and coming out with the best sound songs, and you know.
Are you a Post Malone fan?
Yeah, I dig Post. I listen to some of his stuff. I wouldn't say like I sit here and tell you my favorite Post line, but
is he's a songwriter though too, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say because
pretty sure he raps.
For some reason I in my brain I had thought that he was a songwriter before he became, well, maybe I guess all of them are songwriters before they become big artists, but I didn't think that, maybe the thought that I had was he wasn't a rapper per se before he went into that genre, because I always see him playing acoustic guitar, and you know, he's
just talented, man. That's the thing. Like, he's just talented. He could do a country song if he wanted to. He could do a pop. It's just if you have people that become fans of you, they're gonna listen to what you put out. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna, whether they're gonna like it or they're not gonna like it, but most of the time people like it. Sorry, my bad.
Who's on your playlist right now?
Man.
Your rap playlist, because that's when you go home. Dude. You're done with work. You got in the car. You pulled
I've been listening to a lot of Wu-Tang lately.
Oh,
because they have this show on Hulu right now.
Yeah.
It's like a series, Wu-Tang series. So I've been jamming a lot of Wu-Tang and Method Man.
Whoa,
Red Man.
Man,
back in the day, I introduced my mom to Old Dirty Bastard. It only lasted for, she was in town this week, and only lasted for a couple, she's 35 seconds, maybe 40 seconds. She could handle it.
You can turn that off now.
Old Dirty Bastard.
My bad.
Yeah. I was like, all right, Jamie.
They were in, what was it? Old Dirty Bastard had a song with Maya. Remember the movie Bulworth? No. Oh man, that was one of my favorite songs with all of them little. You gotta.
Can I take a break for a second?
Well, we're almost done. You want to just wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. Sorry.
Right. No.
I'm sorry, man. I'm drinking 3 drinks right now. I got coffee, I got vitamin water, and the gold.
You don't even have to go inside. You can just hit the back when we're done.
Thank you. That's perfect.
All right. Hey, this was an amazing episode.
Yeah, man.
Dude, thank you so much for being on the show, Adam.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll do it again. We'll talk money next time.
Yeah,
we'll talk Spotify and money.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is another episode of Backyards and Bevvies. It's been a pleasure. Much love.
Yes.
Thank you. You can go ahead and
I got water.
You go ahead and do your thing. I'm gonna make those headphones off with you there. All right, everyone. This was another wonderful episode of Backyards and Bevvies. I'm gonna bottoms up because I think Adam has enough fluid in him now. But cheers to all you out there. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful week. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week on Backyards and Bevvies. Later.